Imagine walking into a store ready to buy something, but instead of being welcomed, you're judged the moment you step through the door. A black man faced this exact moment, embarrassed in front of strangers, humiliated by a clerk who refused to serve him. What no one in that store knew was that this customer wasn't just any man, he was the new regional manager. What happened next shocked everyone. Stay with me until the end, because this story is going to leave you speechless. And before we dive in, make sure to like this video and subscribe so you never miss powerful stories like this. It was a warm Friday afternoon when Marcus, a hard-working professional in his late 30s, decided to stop by a local store on his way home. Dressed in a simple button-up shirt and slacks, he didn't look like someone of high authority, just another customer trying to pick up a few essentials. To the strangers around him, Marcus was just another face in the crowd, but what they didn't know was that his career had taken a huge turn. After years of dedication and success, Marcus had just been promoted to regional manager for one of the largest retail chains in the area. This particular store, the one he casually walked into that day, was now under his direct supervision. The place was bustling, cash registers beeping, carts rolling, and people chatting. Marcus wasn't there to flaunt his position. He genuinely wanted to experience the store as any customer would, to see how employees treated the people they served. He believed true leadership meant understanding what happened on the ground, not just behind a desk. With only a small item in hand, Marcus expected a routine checkout. Instead, he found himself staring into the cold eyes of a clerk who looked him up and down with disdain. What happened next would not only test Marcus's patience, but also expose a harsh truth about how people are judged by the color of their skin, even in places where fairness should be the standard. As Marcus approached the counter, he placed his item down gently and waited. The store clerk, a young man in his mid-20s, barely glanced at him. Instead, he busied himself tidying the counter, adjusting a stack of bags, and pretending to look at the screen. Marcus stood silently, giving him time. But after nearly a minute of being ignored, it became painfully clear the clerk wasn't planning on serving him. Customers in the next line shifted uncomfortably. Marcus could feel the weight of their stares. He wasn't loud. He wasn't demanding. He was simply waiting like anyone else. Yet his presence seemed to make this employee uneasy, almost hostile. Finally, when Marcus politely asked if he could be checked out, the clerk let out a sharp sigh and shook his head. Without a word, he called over another customer, a white man from the line behind Marcus, and started scanning his items instead. The sting of humiliation cut deep. Marcus's face grew hot, not from guilt, but from the injustice of being dismissed in broad daylight. He wasn't new to subtle prejudice, but this was no subtlety. This was blatant exclusion. The kind of treatment that strips a person of dignity, leaving them to decide whether to fight back or quietly swallow the insult. Marcus chose silence in that moment, though inside, anger brewed. He observed carefully, the rolled eyes, the dismissive gestures, the smirk that lingered on the clerk's face. Each action spoke louder than words. You don't belong here, and I don't have to serve you. But Marcus, while hurt, was not powerless. He reminded himself why he had come here, to see how the staff treated customers. He had not expected such a clear example to present itself so quickly. This store, his store now, was failing one of the most basic tests of fairness and respect. He allowed the moment to continue a little longer, letting the clerk's behavior dig its own grave. Marcus wanted to see how far the mistreatment would go, how boldly this man would act when he thought no consequences existed. Every insult, every cold dismissal was quietly noted and stored away. In those few minutes, Marcus experienced what many ordinary people face daily, judged not by their character or their achievements, but by something they cannot change, the color of their skin. The clerk continued serving other customers, as though Marcus wasn't even standing there. Finally, when the last customer left the counter, Marcus calmly placed his item back on the counter. His voice was steady, almost too calm for the moment. He introduced himself, not as just another shopper, but as the new regional manager of the entire retail chain, the very person responsible for overseeing this store and its employees. The words seemed to freeze the air. The clerk's face drained of color, his smirk vanishing in an instant. Whispers rippled through the small crowd that had been pretending not to watch. The man they had seen humiliated, the one they thought powerless, was in fact the person with the greatest authority in the building. Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His presence carried more weight than any outburst could. He explained what he had witnessed. Not just the refusal of service, but the subtle glances, the deliberate exclusion, and the silent approval from those who chose to look away. The silence in the store was deafening. The clerk stammered, trying to piece together an excuse, but it was too late. The truth was laid bare, and everyone knew it. In that moment, Marcus wasn't just a regional manager. He was every person who had ever been denied dignity because of the color of their skin. His words weren't just a reprimand. They were a mirror, forcing everyone present to confront the ugliness of what had just happened. The store felt different now. The energy that once carried silent approval of injustice had turned into an uneasy hush. No one dared move. The clerk, still fumbling for words, realized that his actions had not just been rude, they had been career-threatening. But Marcus wasn't there to destroy lives. He was there to change them. Calmly, he told the clerk that the job he held carried responsibility, not just to scan items and collect payments, but to treat every customer with fairness and respect. Prejudice, Marcus explained, had no place in a business that served the public. And while the clerk could apologize to him today, the real challenge would be unlearning the mindset that had made him think it was acceptable to treat someone differently because of skin color. With measured words, Marcus made it clear this wasn't the end of the matter. He would follow up formally as part of his duty as regional manager. But before leaving, he paused and looked around the room. His gaze was steady, almost challenging. The measure of any community, he said, is not how it treats the powerful, but how it treats the people it thinks are powerless. Marcus left the store with dignity intact. Carrying more than just the weight of his position, he carried the truth that real change begins with courage. And the question he left hanging in the air was one that echoed far beyond that small store. When faced with injustice, will you stay silent, or will you stand? If you've experienced or witnessed the same, share your story in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video so together we can spread the message further.